is this guy? Well, okay, so my name is Allan Branch. And I'm going to first tell you about who I am, where I came from, before I get into my talk. It's all relevant. I'm going to talk about things my parents and my family taught me about business that they didn't even know that they were teaching me, right? So who the hell is this guy? I'm Allan Branch. I'm in Les Accounting. And in 1938, my grandparents met. My grandfather was on a Kirby vacuum salesman route. If you don't know what Kirby vacuums are, you should research them. It's a very cool story. He was on his vacuum cleaner route in Tallahassee, Florida, met Lucille Coe, my grandmother, right? And a few years later, they had some kids, and they built the first fast food restaurant in America, Jimmy's Drive-In. In 1943, there was a drive-through window. They were 10 years ahead of McDonald's. There was Eat In. There was curbside service, and then they opened up Jimmy's Car Wash in 1953. So I grew up in the car wash business. My dad took over the car washes in the, I guess it was 1975. I'll be 30 tomorrow, but so this was 1975. This was a few years before I was born. Took over the car washes. My uncle took over the restaurants in the late 80s, and they're still being run today. I grew up homeschooled with 3 sisters and a brother. Now, that may explain why I'm weird now. Rule 3,302. Always look sexy. I'm the one on the left, sporting the straps, keeping the pants up. I was a little bit chubby, still am. All right, so I played football in high school, played football in college. I kind of got away from business until 2004, where I started back into freelancing and business and the internet, blah, blah, blah. So the title of my talk is what I learned from my family in their 65 years of business. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's I grew up in car washing, and here's what I learned. I don't know the title. Or maybe the title is while you were playing Nintendo, I was reading profit and loss statements from my dad's car wash. So that's kind of a little dig at that. I basically have 30 years of true business experience. So while you were, off, playing skateboarding, I was, who the hell is interrupting me? Do I really have to get off? Adam Stacoviak of the Founders Talk, goodbye. All right. So, I spent my childhood going to car wash conventions with my dad. Every Saturday and sometimes in the afternoons, I would sit there and walk around the car washes with him, and he would be talking to employees and teaching them the way. He would, my parents never sat down and said, Alan, these are tips that you need to know one day. You're going to start an internet company, and it's going to be really a lot of work, and here's what you need. They never said that. I observe things, and it's taken me 30 years to kind of see how these things that we've done naturally, my business partner and I, naturally, the way we do things has come naturally because I've observed things over the past 30 years that my parents have done. So it just seems natural to me, right? So these are some tips that they've shown me, not through business lessons. They've shown me these things every day, being consistently showing me these messages. And here's what I've learned, right? So the first one is be extraordinary. So this isn't an inspirational talk, and that sounds really fucking cheesy. But my parents wanted me to do something that I love and cared about and passionate about. And growing up as a homeschooler, my mom she still constantly tries to show us things and teach us things, and we hated it. We would say, stop teaching us things. You're driving me fucking crazy. I actually never said fucking, but you're driving me crazy, Mom. Gosh, you're ruining my life. I'm going to my room. But, she wanted us to be extraordinary. And I hope we came close. But the first lesson is work your ass off. My parents never said, it's okay. You don't have to work as hard as the other guy. My parents made us work harder than everyone else. Every Saturday while you were playing Nintendo, my family was working at our family business. I was watching my dad, watching my brothers and sisters. I'm the one on the far right. I think that was probably 1997 or so. But, Malcolm Gladwell has a great book called Outliers. And in his book Outliers, he says to be world-class at anything, you need 10,000 hours of practice. Now, that doesn't mean you can't be gifted initially, right? But to be world-class in anything, you need to put 10,000 hours in. And I think I've done that. I think I'm there in business now. I'm kind of understanding what business is about now, just now at age 30. But my parents certainly told us, you're going to have to work harder than everyone else. When everyone else is out playing, you're going to have to work hard. And nothing in life comes easy. It's going to be a struggle. Business is a struggle. I watch my dad struggle every week to make payroll. And, washing cars is not a glorious business by any means. Part of that tip of being extraordinary is if people think you're doing something crazy, you're probably on the right path, because most people are morons. Most people are morons. They sell insurance. They do this. They do that. They look forward to age 65 when they can actually take a day off and forget about work. Well, they're not going to get that you're spending nights and weekends working on a project that may or may not never make a dime. So what you're doing to them is crazy. You are crazy. But I knew I was doing something right when my mother-in-law said, "You should keep your job. You don't need to go freelance." I said, yeah, I'm probably doing the right thing. So I realized that crazy things, not crazy as in idiotic, but crazy as in ballsy. Ballsy things get talked about. Ballsy things change the status quo, right? My grandfather, when he opened up his restaurant in 1943, there was nothing like it. He opened up in Panama City, Florida, 3,000 people in this little town, and it's still there today. 65 years later, it's still there. People still come in. He has pictures of himself still on the wall and his employees and other restaurants that he's owned. It's still there. It's still there because he focused on having a good product, a product that was different than everyone else, and he focused on a niche market. The car washes, right? The car washes, there wasn't even a car wash industry in 1953. This was uncharted territory. He went into a new category of business. Bankers didn't give loans for car washes. There was only about 20 car washes in all the U.S. So he didn't go out and build a laundromat. There's nothing wrong with laundromats, but he went out and built a car wash. There was a car wash, I think there were probably 3 or 4 in the Southeast. There's probably one in Miami. There's one in Atlanta, probably Nashville, right? But this is Panama City, Florida. He put one here, still here today. So the next thing is you don't have customers, you have friends. Well, you do have customers, right? But I want people to stop using the term customers and users because it dehumanizes the people that you're serving. My grandfather, every ad he ever put out, howdy friend, put his picture on it, his name. It was more like he was talking to a friend. So we need to have more friends. You need to treat your customers like they're your friend. How would you want your best friend treated coming into your application by your support team, by a developer? How would you want them treated? How would you explain your app to them? How would you allow them to understand what your app does? Treat them like friends. Kevin Hale has a great quote. Kevin Hale from Wufu, talking about tech support. He says, "I just imagine every tech support request is coming from a beautiful girl." He actually says Halle Berry, and it changes my tone. So if you imagine that these people sending you emails for feature requests and bug reports is Halle Berry or your best friend, or maybe Halle Berry's your best friend. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. You will change your tone and you will give them more respect and they will feel the love. There's no such thing as customer loyalty. Your customers will not be loyal. Friends are loyal. Seth Godin had a great blog post the other day that said, loyalty is when people know that there are other choices, better choices, and they stick with you. They don't even look for other choices. They stick with you because they know that they love you and they love your brand and they love everything you're doing and they want to support you. A customer relationship is more of an anonymous relationship. So my grandfather showed me these things. We've put them into our business. This is my business partner, Steve. He's the smartest man in the world. And we give out stickers. We say, we're your new best friends. We say in all our emails, "Hey friend," we make no doubt about it. We want to be your friend, right? We don't have fans. We don't have followers. We have friends. And so that's been really helpful for us. We talk to our users. When you log into Let's Account, it says, "You're back. We love you." No, seriously, you're awesome, right? Now that could just say login form. Please fill everything out. That's required. That's robot talk. Talk to these people like they're your friends, right? So let's go to personal branding, which is just makes me want to vomit. But we are now in in a time where people are coining phrases or terms or terminology that for things that have been going on for hundreds of years, hundreds of business, and people are getting a lot of credit for them, which is fine and stuff. But Gary Vaynerchuk and Chris Brogan and all the social media people did not invent personal branding. It's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, It's just when your customers know who you are and trust the product that you've built them, right? Think about in the early 1800s or 1900s when you go to the Smith's General Store and Mr. Smith is behind the counter and he says, you should try this lip balm, and you know Mr. Smith's recommendation is the best. That's a brand, right? Chris Brogan, I love this picture of Chris. He's on the right. He looks like he's constipated, and Gary like some kind of like Zen Kung Fu master, which is really, he's not very Zen. But anyways, people have been doing personal branding forever, right? It wasn't invented by my grandfather. I'm not going to say that either. But, Hershey's, JCPenney's. People used to name their business after themselves as a part of being branding. So you would trust the Disney brand, the JCPenney's brand, which was a huge catalog. They had lots of products in it. And so you had to trust that the products they had in there were really good. They had R&D laboratories set up to test these products. So you knew that if JCPenney put his stuff in that catalog, that it was the best stuff. So Firestone, Kellogg's, you saw a lot more apostrophe S's. Now, I'm not saying you have to go out and name your web app, Eddie's web app. But that's a way people put their name and face on their product. And it worked. It worked well for hundreds of years, and we kept copying these people until they got so big that their face or the name of their company no longer represented the person. The Kellogg's guy died off, and Kellogg's no longer, you don't think of the face of the Kellogg's man anymore. You think of the little chicken or rooster, whatever it is. And so these companies got really, really big, and they got really faceless and nameless, and we thought, well, that's what we should do as business owners in the 1960s and 50s and 70s. Your brand is how your customers explain you, right? So Grasshopper, like my grandfather's tool, let me go back. My grandfather he helped, if you look on his ads, he talks about helping working class families. He wanted to help working class families feed their families and keep their cars clean, right? Which reminds me of Grasshopper Group. Grasshopper Group is the parent company of Grasshopper.com, which is a phone system, and also Chargerify, which helps you do recurring billing. And they also have launched Spreadable, but they're not Grasshopper Group. We build apps. We build apps. We empower entrepreneurs with the tools that we provide. That's the story that they're selling. That's the brand that they're selling, right? So build a brand. But how the fuck do you build a brand? No one tells you how to build a brand. Well, it takes years and years and years and years and years of every day doing the right things, being good. Your brand is your aftermath of all the actions you do. It's how you talk to people. It's how you look. It's how you address them. It's how your app works. It's how you resolve issues. Another great thing Kevin Hell says is the relationship, Kevin Hell of Wufu, he says the relationship between your users and you is like a marriage, A good marriage all marriages have problems, but it's how you resolve those problems is what makes a marriage. And what makes a relationship is how you resolve quarrels and tiffs with your friends and with your wife or your husband or however. So your brand it comes from years and years of doing the same thing. It's not your fucking logo. It's not your logo. That's my dad's sign. I actually just wanted to put that there because I designed the sign and it's kind of cool. That's actually for one of his newer car washes. But, so it's not your logo. My grandfather, did all these things, right? He put his name on things. He said, thank you. The businesses were much more, had much more life, right? They had birthdays, right? And in most of his ads, you can see it had a little paragraph, a little letter from him, right? That was how he built his brand. He built his brand on good prices and a story. If you look at the very bottom of this ad, just above Jimmy's, it says, see the world's most unusual juke organ. Now, I don't know what a juke organ is, but it sounds fucking fantastic. I would love to see one. Another part of his brand was, world's biggest hamburger. We have big food. It's cheap prices. We're good people. We're very clean. That's a picture of some of the cooks and car hops, right? And I read back in one of his training manuals, one of his car hop training manuals, and the car hop is the person who comes to the car and takes your order and goes back inside. It said, change your hat every 2 days.